That white, dusty coating on your plants? Nope, it's not powdered sugar. It's powdery mildew, and it's here to ruin your garden party. Today, we're diving into proven tips from gardeners all over the web to stop powdery mildew in its tracks. From simple homemade sprays to airflow tricks and prevention hacks the pros swear by. You'll learn how to spot powdery mildew early before it spreads like gossip. The #1 environmental change that makes it pack up and leave. Natural and organic treatments that actually work. The common cures that might make things worse. And with the strong Echo AI gardening app, you can snap a photo of any suspicious leaf, get instant plant diagnosis and treatment suggestions. So mildew never gets the upper hand again. Ask any question specific to your situation and get instant solutions.
If you're in your garden and you notice that your cucumbers or your squash or zucchini have this powdery substance on it, I'm going to show you how to fix it. It's called powdery mildew, and it's a fungal infection, and it spreads through like spores. So you want to get this out of your garden, and there's a few trips. It can go on to a lot of your other plants. So I'm going to show you what to do. So this tends to happen when it's really hot outside, but also really humid. So it's a moist area. It's been raining a lot in Texas, so a lot of our cucumber leaves are getting it, and we need to take care of it before it takes over the whole bed. So what you're going to do, it can be contagious to your other plants, so you're going to want to follow these steps. This is what I use. It's going to help with pest in your garden, and it's also going to help with the powdery mildew, so any kind of like fungal diseases. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off any diseased leaves. This typically happens in the early summer for me. It usually gets really hot here, so it tends to go away. So we're going to get our Maggies and we're going to spray it directly on the affected leaves. And like I said, it can transfer to your other plants, so you're going to want to take it out and dump it far away so that the spores don't transfer to your other plants. And then you're going to clean your hands real good and wash your tools down with alcohol.
Do some of your plant leaves look like they're covered in this weird white powder that maybe you'd find in the west wing of the White House? One of the most common problems you'll find with zucchini, squash, and cucumbers is something called powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is a fungal disease that affects the surface area of the leaves. It develops in these little spores and then is spread through the wind. And just like Uncle Rob's fungal disease, there is no cure. But you can prevent it with another white powder, baking soda. Mix a teaspoon of baking soda into a quart of water and spray your plant down thick because it'll kill any fungus it comes into contact with. You can also use a milk spray, but I find this to be less effective and far more stinky. Regular fungicide works too. Once your plant gets heavily infected, the best bet's to cut off the infected leaves and burn them. The good news is that as long as you stay on top of it, it won't kill your plant.
You probably have powdery mildew on your plants. Here is how to detect and treat it.
Let's look at a plant. The white marble stains that you see on this leaf are totally normal. This is specific to some courgette varieties. However, here on the same plant, do you see all the little white dots that are irregular and powdery?
This is powdery mildew, and it can kill many plants,
such as cucumbers, but also courgettes or melons.
First thing to do.
Don't be afraid to cut all the heavily infested leaves and remove them from your garden.
Second thing to do.
Take a jar, some water and some milk, and mix 30% of milk for 70% of water. Put the mixture in a sprayer, spray on the plant for prevention and treatment, and don't forget the back of the leads.
Milk is a natural fungicide. It will prevent the spores of mildew from spreading further. So happy growing without mildew, and green love to you.
This is going to eliminate most, if not all, of your powdery mildew issues. Spraying them with whey. This is my go-to. Everybody asks me, season to season, what is it that I'm spraying on my plants that keeps them looking so healthy? It's that whey. I'm going to spray on your undersides as well, because that powdery mildew will start on the undersides. And that's why I like this little sprayer, because you don't have to do anything but just push it in and it catches everything. You want to spray this preferably late evening. When those temperatures start getting around that 85, 90 degrees, you'll start to see that. But when you start spraying this whey on here, it's going to colonize the leaves and not allow that powdery mildew to set in. So basically what you have is the battle of the microbes. and that's that lactobacillus winning the battle. And that's what's in that whey. And I spray this on all my squash plants.
It's powdery mildew season. If you're seeing little white fuzz and stuff on your plants and vegetables, I'm going to show you how to get rid of it and how to prevent it with just a couple simple steps. The first steps of fighting PM is changing the pH on your leaf surface. Fungus like powdery mildew likes a more acidic environment, so we need to change that to more of an alkaline environment or they can't produce. Fungal spores like PM will travel miles and miles, so if you don't have it on your farm and your neighbor does, it will drift through the wind and get on your property. That's probably why you're seeing it. But all you have to do is alter the pH on that leaf surface and get it to more of an alkaline environment. And what I'm using is just baking soda and a little bit of Dawn. I add about a good tablespoon per gallon. This is a 4-gallon sprayer. I added at least 4 tablespoons of baking soda. And once you do that, I'm going to show you what to do after this and how to apply it. The best time to spray for powdery mildew is in the mornings after the dew is off your bushes of vegetables. And the first thing you want to do is spray on the underneath side of your leaves. Coat it really good and then get on the face of your leaf. Just coat it really good and do this application a couple times a week. And then after you get rid of it, just use it as a preventative. This works great to prevent powdery mildew.
A little bit worse for wear, and you're noticing white fuzzy substance on your stem or your leaves, welcome to powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is a fungal disease that can weaken the structure, reduce photosynthesis, reduce your plant yield, and just overall stress. I'm going to share a few things you can do to help reduce the spread and a few things that you can spray to help control it. The first thing is spacing. Here, as you can see, I have 3 tomatoes growing up one arch. I'm going to be removing the center plant to increase airflow. Secondly is pruning. I have removed all low hanging foliage. I want to ensure that nothing is touching the soil. It's all about increasing airflow. When it comes to watering, avoid wetting the foliage. That can create a humid environment, which powdery mildew loves. Keep the foliage dry and the roots wet. If your garden is prone to powdery mildew, ask your nursery or seed retailer about powdery mildew resistant varieties. To help slow down the spread of powdery mildew, I use eco fungicide. There are 2 homemade options, which I will leave in the caption below. I hope this has helped, and happy growing.
You ever see that white powder all over your squashers, cucumbers, and think, what is that? That's powdery mildew, and this right here is how I treat it naturally. I mix 1 part milk and 2 parts water and spray the leaves, top and bottom, every 7 days. If it's spreading fast, I spray every 3 to 4 days until it clears up. Do it early in the morning before the heat hits. Your garden will definitely thank you. And that's what I'm doing because powdery mildew has hit the garden.
This right here is called powdery mildew, and this is not a garden friend. I'm going to show you what we're going to do about it. It's really important to prune the leaves that are affected, and we want to make sure that we don't spread the disease from plant to plant. So we're going to use some isopropyl alcohol, 70%, and we're just going to fill a jar like that. And this sanitizes the pruners. Okay. Take our pruners. That works just great. The metal parts are all covered, and we'll just leave them in here in between pruning.
our pruners and put them in the jar and let them sanitize, and then just set them on top so they can dry, and then we're going to move to the next plant. So now we're going to use some neem oil. This is used to treat the powdery mildew, and it's fully organic and safe to use if you're doing organic gardening like me.
The plants look like they're covered in flour, or they partied a little too hard with Johnny Cash in 1965. Well, it's most likely powdery mildew, which is a fungal disease spread through spores, and if left untreated can actually affect the yield and the quality of the fruit. Conventional fungicides should treat the problem, but we like to use another white powder, baking soda. A teaspoon of that in a quart of water and you've got yourself a great home remedy. Just make sure that it actually gets on the powdery mildew. Another application is neem oil. You apply once a week for 4 weeks and just make sure you do it in the morning time or evening and not in the middle of the day.
So I noticed my backyard cucumber started developing dreaded powdery mildew. First thing I'm going to do is remove the worst leaves. Here's another bad one. I think I'm going to remove this one even though it's not too bad yet. I've used milk before and that works, but this time I'm going to use baking soda. We're going to use 1 tablespoon of baking soda. A squirt of dish soap, and I like to use this natural type brand. And that is per 1 gallon of water. And of course you're going to put it in some type of sprayer like this one. And then shake it up really, really well. Spray the whole plant, top of the leaf, bottom of the leaf, and the whole plant, everything, fruit and everything, stem. Repeat as necessary. And throw the leaves you cut in the trash, not the compost pile.
So if you start to see something like this on your anything, zucchini, cucumbers, pumpkins, butternut squash, this is powdery mildew, and the best way to get rid of it is twofold. Number one, you're going to cut off the affected leaves. Do not throw them in the compost, just get them into the trash because you don't want to infect anything else, and it's primarily due to humidity. So it's been super rainy lately. Number two is you want to spray your entire plant with 1 cup water to 1 cup of whole milk. So just mix it up in a spray bottle, spray all the nice healthy leaves that are not affected, obviously. And even if they're slightly affected, go ahead and spray it with the 1-to-1 ratio milk to water. And I'm telling you, the next day, it's gonna be cleaned up. Evening is the best, otherwise early morning. Hope that helps.
Powdery mildew. 2 words that no gardener wants to hear and new gardeners are gonna learn about. Basically, if you go online and you look up common pests and diseases on, say, a squash or a hosta or a peony, almost every time you're gonna see powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is a fungus that lives on the leaves of your plants, but it's also known to persist in soil and overwinter, and it can be brought into your garden by Mother Nature, whether it's bugs or wind. The spores are everywhere. Now you can buy fungicides to treat, but I don't spray my plants. Luckily, I've read up on an organic method to potentially rescue your plants or prevent the powdery mildew to begin with. Basically, it's a mixture of water and milk. You spray it on the leaves and it helps prevent it. Studies aren't sure really why it works. I just know that a lot of people use it. People think that it's like proteins breaking down and creating like antifungal agents. Chuck the words powdery mildew and milk spray into Google and see for yourself.
The image shows leaves affected by powdery mildew, a common fungal disease. This condition manifests as white or gray powdery spots on plant surfaces. It often affects plants like cucumbers, squash, and other cucurbits. Here's why I believe this is powdery mildew. Visible signs. The distinct powdery patches on the leaves are characteristic of powdery mildew. Commonality. This disease frequently appears on plants in certain conditions, such as high humidity and poor air circulation. Confidence level. I am quite certain about this diagnosis, given the classic symptoms displayed in the image. Recommended solution. Air circulation. Improve air circulation around the plants by pruning and spacing them properly. Fungicides. Consider using fungicides specifically designed for powdery mildew. Resistant varieties. Grow plant varieties that are resistant to this disease.